many flowers are you going to put in this place? An elite group of radio hosts, Syracuse alumni, and cash money millionaires fought and toiled and burned the midnight oil to deliver the most definitive ranking in all of basketball. It's an honor and a privilege. It's time for Nick's Tears.
Wild.
Yes?
I gotta say, especially under the circumstances, you are just delivering an all-time performance today. Don't blow it the final half hour, but you are really, this might be your flu game.
Wow.
All right, we now have, we know who's in and out of the play-in playoff officially. We know it. So we have changed the eliminated to just actually eliminated and soon to be eliminated. We don't need any fancy relegated. So let's show that right now. Off the tiers, those 10 teams are officially eliminated, and the Hawks and Bulls, otherwise known as annual play-in participants, soon to be eliminated. Now to the actual tiers. Flawed and injured. Listen, it's not these teams' fault, but the Pacers haven't been the same since Tyrese Halliburton got hurt, came back from the injury, hasn't been quite the same guy. The Cavs obviously haven't been the same since Donovan Mitchell got hurt. He's now back. And the Kings, and again, these teams aren't even flawed to begin with, but the injuries, the Kings, Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk, you're probably 4th and 5th or 5th and 6th most important players just being done. Nice seasons, but you're cooked. Building block. Knicks, Magic, Pelicans. Let me explain it.
Okay.
I think these are great seasons for all three of these teams. A building block year for all three of these teams. I don't think any of these teams can make round 3. The Knicks were the one team that maybe could have, but now Randall's out for the year. Now that Randall's been a great playoff performer, it feels like you can't. But all three of them could win the championship next year. Assuming they get Giannis, which, hey, it's on the board. It's on the board.
Oh, you don't underplay Grimes.
It's on the board. All right, Bruce is going to like this, or maybe he won't. I'm not sure. Might make me religious. If this Heat team goes on a run, I will officially believe in a higher power. Now, that higher power might be whatever Pat Riley prays to. I'll have to find out. But there is no reason to believe in this Heat team. None. And I have been the biggest proponent of Heat culture. I was the one last year. They've shown no signs of it up to and including last night when they're in double overtime against the Hawks.
Right.
So I don't want to write them off entirely, but there's no piece of evidence I can give you. I watched their final possession against the Hawks last night. Tie game, 17 seconds, get whatever you want. It was a Tyler Hero one-footed heat because they couldn't even get a real shot. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
All right. Crapshoot, no idea what you're getting from these teams. No idea. Now, you can get a hot shooter out there living your best life. You also all of a sudden can go home penniless. At their best, they can look great.
Yeah.
And we've seen the Warriors at their best recently. We saw the Clippers when they had the great, 6 weeks?
Yep.
But they also can then just be inexplicably beatable by just about anyone. And because of that, can they be consistent in the postseason for 2 weeks, and then 3 weeks, and then 4 weeks, and then 6? No, I don't think you can. Shouldn't be in this position. Too much talent, playing at too high of a level. Obviously, the common thread is the two coaches here, the last two coaches Rob Pelinka picked to coach NBA teams, but set that aside, that these two teams are right now a game apart from each other, fighting to stay out of the 9-10 part of the play-in, even though 4 of your 15 All-NBA team members might be on these two teams. It doesn't make sense, but it's where we're at. Next, hard to totally believe, but for different reasons. For the Thunder, it is simply the youth.
Yep.
For the Timberwolves, it is partially, I guess, my own bias against Gobert's playoff history, but really, what is it going to look like once Towns gets back? And how are they going to assimilate come the postseason? And for the Bucks, it's because the last 2 months of games have been on television. And so because of that, it's hard to totally believe. But they're all fighting for the one. Well, Milwaukee's fighting for the 2 or the 3. Mm-hmm. They're fighting for the 1, 2, 3. They have good resumes. They have great talent, but it's hard to totally buy in. Can the finals start now? And by that, I mean this. I think the Sixers would love to be like, you know what? Can we play Boston right now? Dallas, can we play Denver right now? Like, can we just, I don't think either, for Philly, Embiid seems healthy and fresh. For Dallas, they are rolling. Like, I don't know that either of these teams are going to be better in 6 weeks than they are right now this moment. They certainly, you don't think, would be healthier. And so these two teams, you could make an argument, are the scariest in each conference this very moment if you remove all history from it. And so I'm sure they'd like to get it going immediately. Mr. Consistency, the name says it all, Boston. They've earned the title. For 4 months, they have just been a machine. They win 8 out of 10 games. They get contributions from all over. Tatum's great. Jaylen Brown is great adjacent. Kristaps is playing the best basketball of his career. Drew and Derek White are awesome glue guys. Your guy, Joe Maz, has even stopped trying to block opponents' shots. Wow. They have been consistent, great at home, and they clinched the 1 seed so long ago, it feels like they're like Caleb Williams in the draft. Like, we don't even talk about it because it's such a foregone conclusion. Looming over everything.
Yeah.
The only thing that can stop this team, it would seem, is either Jamal Murray's knee or Michael Porter Jr.'s podcast. Have you guys checked that out? My God.
What's going on?
I don't know what's going on there, but come on, man. You're in the rotation trying to win your 2nd straight title. But when we're talking about those things, they are the clear-cut favorites. That's this week's edition of the NBA
The crumble cookies were bad.
All right, so here, let's bring it right here. Okay. So let's take a look at this. First off, the last time I did this was probably like a few weeks ago, maybe even like a month ago. Because I don't, I think doing these tiers so far out from the playoffs makes no sense, honestly. And so I was like, okay, I'm saying things that I believe, but like I'm not passionate about, and I don't really want to make videos that I'm not like actually excited to talk about. But I do have to say that before he had the Sixers way at the bottom, and I said, that's nonsense. They're a great team, and that Embiid is going to be back, and they are going to be a force to reckon with. Now he has them in the top 4. Seems like I was right. So I got to take my little mini victory lap, because that's what I was trying to say. The Sixers look great. Now, can Embiid stay healthy going into the playoffs? I have zero idea. The dude is reckless. I mean, he's back on his first game, and he's hitting the floor. I mean, I'm just like, come on, man, what are you doing? Like, just be chill. So it's who knows, honestly. That's why on one side, I want to see them in the play-in tournament, win that first game, and then that way they get the 8 seed, so they face the Celtics first round, because that'd be better. But I don't know. You can't think like that. Embiid's either going to last the whole playoffs or not, So, but they have a chance to get out of the play-in tournament completely, quite honestly. I can see the Pacers and the Cavaliers and the Kings down there. But I would say that the Kings technically have that same level of like building block that if you're going to say that the Knicks and the Pelicans have. The Heat are a decent team, but they could not keep up even with the Sixers. I'm not sure if it was Joel Embiid's first game back or second game back, but I mean, they just had no answer. There's none, and it's just one of those things where I just don't think the Heat have it. So I get what Nick is saying, that if they do go on a run, he'll be like, oh my God, what's going on here? But the biggest issue that I have with this is really this middle, is the Lakers, the Suns, the Warriors, and the Clippers. Because here's the reality. To put the Lakers and the Suns, let's just do the Lakers first. To put the Lakers above the Golden State Warriors and the Clippers is absurd. The Warriors are there specifically because Draymond Green was not playing. If Draymond Green was not playing, they would have statistically been like a top 5, top 6 team. I forget exactly what the record would have shaped up in. Significantly different. They would not be in the play-in tournament. Okay? The Lakers are where they are because that is who the Lakers are. Okay? Not to mention, going into the playoffs, I've said this again and again and again and again and again. I do not believe in the stamina that AD and LeBron James have at this point in their career. Just like Nick was talking about, like, can we start the finals now with, the Mavericks and the Sixers, which I agree with, especially for the Sixers. It's like that with LeBron James. I mean, my God, if you think LeBron James is going to be able to play multiple 6-7 game series and be able to bring it, I'm just not seeing it. And LeBron needs to ball out just for a chance at winning. The dude's going to have to put up 40, 10, and 10. And he's just not going to be able to do that. And it's a shame. It's sad. And I get it. And I get people struggle to reconcile with that and accept it. But that's just the reality of where he's at. He can't be that leader. He can't be that workhorse, even though it seems like he can. He can in the regular season, not so much in the playoffs. So I really feel that whole run out of steam. So I'm just not so sure, this whole that they shouldn't be in this position is implying that they should be better in a better position. And I reject that. I really, really do. And if that's the case, then you should be able to put the Warriors in that position because it's Draymond Green's fault for getting suspended. But I do get putting the label of crapshoot for either the Clippers or the Warriors because, right, I said this in, I think, a video yesterday or the day before, that the Warriors are hard to know because it really does come down to their shooting, right? Is Steph going 8 for 12 from 3? Is Clay going 5 for 5 from 3? Are they having those games? Because when they do, the Warriors are going to win. You just can't stop them, right? But if they're not, if Steph is just, having a decent night, going 4 for 10 from 3, right? Obviously still a great night of shooting, and Clay goes 1 for 4, 2 for 6 or something. It's like, no, it's not enough. Is Draymond Green going 5 for 5 like he did against the Lakers? So that is why it is, to me, a roll of the dice. Because as I said in the last video about that, it's just like, we just don't know why sometimes these shooters are just making everything and other times they're just not. There's just no logical explanation for it. It's just how the averages work out. So that is the problem with the Warriors. That physicality can be more dependable just in general, let alone in the playoffs. You can depend on that physicality, and that is not what the Warriors rely on. Right? That's why LeBron James can be so dependable because there's so much of his game is on that physicality, but that's the problem then going into the playoffs because as he gets older, that physicality starts to become, it's reliable, but he can't do it every time. He runs out of gas. So when he's all rested, that physicality is there. When he's short on rest and in the playoffs and emptying the tank, he just doesn't have it. So, and again, the crapshoot is like, what's going on with AD? Is he going to be there? Yes or no? And the Clippers, it's a crapshoot also because of the injuries. Is Kawhi going to be injured? PG, what's going on with that? But I think that the Clippers, as long as everyone's healthy, they're locked in against the Mavs, I think that's poised to be a really good series. I really do. I would not be able to say that I believe in one team or the other. I think the Mavericks feel themselves right now. I think Kyrie and Luka are feeling themselves, and understandably so. But Kyrie does not do well with adversity. He just doesn't. You can call me a hater all you want, but he does not deal well with adversity. He's a phony. He's a fraud. Just look at what he wears in his press conference the other day. I mean, he's a phony. He does not sleep, eat, and breathe basketball. So when he faces adversity, he starts to talk about other random stuff, going on in the world, and it's just, that's just not my style. I don't trust that in the playoffs. And you can say, oh, I'm being a hater, that I'm being wrong, but it's been proven consistently. He's done nothing without LeBron James. Nothing. Everyone wants to tell me how amazing Kyrie is. Then it's like, where is his MVPs? Where are those? Where is the first teams? They don't exist. He's a great player. Not saying that he's not. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying that he's trash or garbage, but he's more like a player that can do some really exciting things, but he's weak-minded and not consistent, especially come time playoffs. He's a smaller player. He's less physical than he used to be when he was younger, mainly because I think more because of his diet. He went vegan or whatever, which I'm not anti-vegan by no means, but the dude slimmed down big time. And when you're that small, I think it matters to a degree, especially come time playoffs. I think he's one of those players that have also been able to gain from the newer rules of basketball, like Steph Curry. And so I'm not knocking that necessarily, but that's why in the playoffs things just get physical. Harden, he's had a lot of surgeries, his knees, it's just I'm just not betting on that into the playoffs. I'm just not, personally. So I'm really interested to see. It seems like we kind of have two fragile teams then, in a way, of the Clippers. It's the fragility of the knees, and I feel their pain. I've had 3 surgeries on my knees, so I feel it. And I think you would put the Nuggets above the Celtics, mainly because the Nuggets have won, so they're the reigning champions. But I think the Celtics are the real deal. But I think the Celtics can absolutely genuinely lose. I think if Embiid is fully healthy, the Sixers are the only team that can beat the Celtics. I do not think if Giannis ends up being healthy, which obviously with his calf injury we have no idea, but let's say Giannis is able to make a 100% recovery, no issues, he's fully fine. I do not see them being able to beat the Celtics. I just do not think they have what it takes. I don't think they're good enough. I don't think they're constructed well enough. I don't think they're coached well enough. Do not think so. The Sixers, I understand a lot of you probably have not been watching Sixers games. I confess, I really wasn't watching a ton of Sixers games, especially once Joel went down, and I was just kind of, watching at arm's length to kind of see what's going on. But the Sixers, they have a legitimate squad. It's definitely a weaker squad. They definitely have a weaker roster than the Celtics, without a doubt. But Embiid is for real. I know it's very in vogue to hate on Embiid. Everyone loves to hate on Embiid. He's actually incredibly a nice guy and cares so much about the sport. In a league that has plenty of players that do not care about playing, who truly do not care about ball. As Paul George said himself, it's something like only 10% of the players in the league actually care. For the rest of them, it's just a job. And, I'm not going to, blame them too much. Joel Embiid actually truly cares to his core. Every time he's ever gotten injured, he's done everything to come back. Everything. And even when he comes back 8 weeks later, he's still sacrificing his body. He is a dog. So if you can't respect that and appreciate that, I don't know what to tell you. I really, really don't. Because, the guy lays it out on the line, every single game. And he cares so much. And so those are the people that I like to root for, whether he's, from Philly or playing for, the Atlanta Hawks. I really don't care. I respect that. I really, really do. And so with Embiid, Nick Nurse has the Sixers going. They have some great young pieces, so they're fresh in the legs, which is good. They have that. In years past, they haven't necessarily had that. And not to mention, Nick Nurse has that ball moving. The ball movement for the Sixers now, I got the chills watching these games, the more recent games, because I'm like, this reminds me, and I'm going to be very clear, they are not the Golden State Warriors, but it reminded me of those years, of the Golden State Warriors, of the Spurs, the ball movement. For years, I watched the Sixers. Sixers games were not fun to watch. They just were not fun to watch. The ball never moved. Now I'm watching the Sixers games, especially with Joel back. I keep hitting the 15-second button because I'm just like, oh my God. What was that? It's just 7, 8 passes. It's just beautiful ball movement. It's what I always call poetry in motion. And it's why I loved watching, I feel like one of the most original teams of this was the Amari Stoudemire Phoenix Suns, back in those days. And it was just and the Spurs and then the Golden State Warriors. And it was just it's just beautiful ball movement. It's just making the right pass, hitting the open shots. It's just beautiful basketball that I had not seen the Sixers play for Joel Embiid's entire career. And they got Nick Nurse, and now it's looking legit. So if the Sixers are healthy and Joel Embiid's healthy, that's going to be a great series against the Celtics. It really, really is. I'm not going to tell you that the Sixers are going to absolutely win, and that's what I'm stamping on it. I have no idea. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to be like the guys on TV and just pretend that I exactly know what's going to happen, because they don't either. So I'm going to, keep it real and be 100% honest. But I am confident in saying that the Sixers, and from my viewpoint, are the only team that would be able to beat the Celtics. That I am very confident in, mainly because Joel Embiid is an absolute unstoppable force. And I think then, I think it's the Nuggets to lose on the West Coast, on the Western Conference. But I would have to say, if the Nuggets get to, because it is hard to imagine that OKC will be able to make that run. And I guess the Timberwolves could. Cat is coming back. I don't know what he's going to look like. I saw obviously what Joel looked like, and he looked pretty great. And Cat is a little bit lighter and a little bit less a lot less physical than, say, like a Joel Embiid. So I'm imagining that he should be pretty good. But I really don't know. I'd have to kind of take a look to see what the Timberwolves are looking. But, again, unless the Golden State Warriors go on just an incredible run, I'm just not predicting the Mavericks. I'm not predicting the Clippers, definitely not the Lakers or the Phoenix Suns. So to me, it kind of comes down to maybe the Timberwolves. But I don't know. Maybe OKC, this is like their time. They're like, yeah, we're young, but guess what? The Golden State Warriors were young in 2015, and look what we did, So I don't know. These playoffs are just going to be so amazing, so incredible. I really can't wait. But I think, and I've said this a few times, if you're a basketball fan, you really want to see the Sixers versus the Denver Nuggets, right? The Jokic versus Embiid. They've had this little rival, not between the two of them. They really like each other. They respect each other. There's no bad blood there at all. They may talk some trash to each other, but that's just basketball. But they have no ill will towards each other at all. It's just the fan bases for whatever reason. I mean, I understand why, but the Philly fans hate Jokic, and the Denver fans hate Embiid. It's just been this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So to get a final showdown with those two guys, to me, would make it really, really exciting. I think the Celtics would still make an exciting finals, but I don't know. I'm nervous of, say, the Celtics versus, OKC or something. It's just I don't know. The Sixers versus the Timberwolves. I don't know. Don't get me wrong, I'd be excited because the Sixers are there, but the matchup, the exciting matchup, the talking points of seeing Jokic versus Embiid, go toe to toe, that's box office. That's exciting. I think we would see a huge ratings jump for that. And I think I think the NBA needs it. So if you're a fan of basketball, you should be rooting for that, because basketball is in desperate need for some true excitement. 6-7 game NBA finals. Let's go. And I think, you get that with the Sixers versus the Nuggets. But I do think the Celtics versus the Nuggets could also be pretty fun as well. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you think of Nick's latest NBA tiers? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with the visibility and the algorithm, and it helps combat the haters. Thank you so much, and see you next time.